Hello everyone. A while back I listened through all of the Thin Lizzy albums thinking that I would make a ranking video about those, but I have personally seen a few of them and I know that there are more of those. So I decided to concentrate on making ranking videos about bands and artists that wouldn't get so much coverage on that area. So I decided to start with the John Fogerty and two things I mentioned first is one that I quote a little bit about his book Fortunate Son, and one is that I don't have the duets album Wrote a Song for Everyone. I have heard about half of the album, but none of those songs are as good as the original versions, so I simply just have no interest for that album. So CCR broke up in 1972 and his first solo album Blue Ridge Rangers was released in 1973. And this is always called as being a pure country covers album, but this is actually both country and gospel covers. As far as the songs themselves go, I do like them, but with the exception of Hearts of Stone, this is very subdued. Maybe his state of mind is reflected here. It's very subdued. It's not lively album. So listening through it all the way through, it just not a great album, I have to say that, which is why I place this at number 7. 2 years later, he released his second solo album, simply titled John Fogerty. He himself calls this album Shep, because of the dog on the sleeve. He doesn't really appreciate this album. The two songs that he still continues to play live here are Almost Saturday Night and Rockin' All Over the World, which were hits for Dave Edmunds and Status Quo. Other than that, he doesn't really like this album, but I think it's great. I like all of the songs here, like the covers like Lonely Teardrops and Sea Cruise. My favorite song is his own composition, Flying Away. But songs like Traveling High, Dream Song, Where the River Flows, just brilliant stuff. One of the reasons why he made this album was that he was partially released from his contract with Fantasy Records. David Geffen bought his rights from Fantasy Records, but only outside of North America. So in USA and Canada, he was still contracted to. Outside of US and Canada, he was still contracted to Fantasy Records, which is why my copy is still on Fantasy. This is a European pressing. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great album. But as far as the placing goes, I will come back to that one a bit later. The following year, there was one single released, and he was supposed to release an album called Hoodoo, but just prior to its release, the record company came and told him that, this album really isn't that good. And John said that even though it was hard to hear that, he agreed to it and had the master tapes destroyed. So there probably will never be an official release for the Hoodoo album. It is available as a bootleg because there were advance promotional copies being distributed. Don't know how many of those, but I have personally heard from the radio a couple of the songs from it, and they were really, really horrible quality recordings. So after that, there was a 9 or 8 year break, however you want to call it, and he finally released Centerfield. By this time, he had made a contract with Fantasy, which released him completely from the deal with the Fantasy Records by giving up his rights to royalties from the CCR records, which he states in the book that didn't really mean anything to him because basically he wasn't paid at all for those anyway. The royalties that he got were paid to a foreign account to which he couldn't access anyway, so basically he didn't get any money from them anyway, and by releasing himself from those royalties, he got total freedom. So this one is released on Warner Brothers. This was a huge hit, US #1, but in reality, I don't think that this is such a great album. There's really great songs like Big Train from Memphis and I Saw It on TV, good songs like Old Man Down the Road, Rock and Roll Girls. But then there's like Mr. Greed, which if it weren't sung by John Fogerty, you wouldn't believe that it's a John Fogerty song. Searchlight is it's an okay song. Centerfield is better. But then there's songs like I Can't Help Myself, which is totally ruined by the god-awful synthesizers. Vance Can Dance, which is like a semi-reggae, includes god-awful synthesizer drums and even more awful synthesizers, just plain awful. Basically, only half of the album is good in my opinion. So not that great as its reputation says. I placed this at number 9. 86 came Eye of the Zombie. In his book he says that after the success of Centerfield he should have felt much more bitter, but in fact he became even more bitter, and this album reflects it. He was advised to take up a couple of guys who had just been had gone, what's the word? Well, they were like university students, university graduates, who could play technically well, but they just didn't have any feel. And before I started making this video, I was thinking that I'm not going to even listen to this album, because in my memory this was completely unlistenable album. But I decided that since I am going through my entire collection, I should give this one a listen, and being part of this video, this was a good opportunity to listen to this. And I have to say that it wasn't as bad as I remembered it to be. There were like, first of all, the opening instrumental is just, it's as good as nothing. Title track and headlines, not that bad. But then there's songs like Knocking on Your Door, which includes hideous keyboards, just awful 80s pop. All of the B side is just awful, just complete rubbish. Changing the Weather, a decent song, but more about this later. Very, very clearly the bottom of the bunch, number 11. Again, there was a 11-year break before came Blue Moon Swamp. And listening to this, you would think that this was a happy affair, but instead it wasn't. It was long sessions, very difficult. John wasn't in good frame of mind while making of this. None of this that appears here. This is very, very good album. The first song released prior to this album was Walking in a Hurricane. I didn't like that song, so I didn't have high expectations for this one. I do understand why it was released as a single. It was just to show that, okay, I'm back and I'm rocking now. But clearly the worst song here on the album. There are a couple of more like Rattlesnake Highway and Rambunctious Boy, which I'm not that keen on. But there's songs like Southern Streamline, 110 in the Shade, which includes a gospel quartet, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Bring It On Down to Jelly Roll, Swamp River Days, Blue Moon Nights, Bad Bad Boy, just brilliant, brilliant songs. One of the things that he didn't like on his those albums that he made completely on his own was his drumming. He said that he just wasn't a good drummer, and you can hear it on a John Fogerty album, for example. He doesn't really do anything other than just keep the beat. That's basically all that he does. But yeah, it doesn't really bother me. But here, for example, on the song Bring It On Down to Jelly Roll, you can hear when the drums come in, you can hear that there's a confident drummer playing. He's not shy about his abilities as a drummer. It's like, here I am, and I'm a great drummer, and that's it. So yeah, overall, great album. I'm not going to say the placing just now. We'll come back to that one a bit later. The following year there was a live album, Premonition. Best thing about this is that the 8 out of 18 songs are his solo songs. Premonition title track being a new song. One of the things that I have said is that if there is an album which some instrument just sounds wrong, it's most likely drums, and this is an example of it. Instead of, in my opinion, drums should have a sort of like a thump, which gives like a wide sound effect to it. In here, it's like a short, sharp crack, bang, bang, bang. Just don't like that one. But yeah, the best thing about this, in my opinion, is the number of the solo songs here. As far as the playing and the versions, yeah, I do like this. I think it's a good one. I place this at number 6. 4 years later, 2002 came Deja Vu all over again. John was disappointed at the lack of commercial success for it, but artistically he thinks that this is a good album, and I think it's a good album. There's songs like She's Got Baggage and Radar, which I don't really like. But then there's like Honeydew, which is like an old-time hillbilly song. Great title track. Great Rhubarb Pie. There's kind of a lot of repetition in that song, but basically I do like it. But overall I have to say that this is like half and half. Half of the album is good, half of the album not so good. So yeah, I place this at number 5. Then again, 5 years later came Revival, and I don't have much to say about this album. I like every song here. I think it's a really, really good album. As far as placings, I come back to it a bit later. 2 years later came Blue Ridge Rangers Rise Again, and like I said on that book of his, that when he made the first Blue Ridge Rangers album, he said that if I ever make another album like that, I will do it with a band. And yeah, this is much more livelier, playing is much better, song selection is great. Don't know previously all of these songs, but yeah, all of the songs I like here. I like the mood here, I like the feeling here. And this one includes a re-recording of his song Change in the Weather, which was on the Eye of the Zombie, and it's like 100 times better here than it's on Eye of the Zombie. So once again, just simply no reason to listen to Eye of the Zombie. Yeah, great album. I placed this at number 4. After that there was the Wrote a Song for Everyone, and then 2019 was 50-year trip, Live at the Red Rocks. The biggest disappointment about this one is the number of solo songs. There's only 3 of the 19 songs are from his solo albums. All 3 are from the Centerfield album. All the others are CCR songs or like Suzy Q songs that CCR did play. Far as the playing, far as the versions themselves go, yeah, I do like them. But if I want to listen to CCR live album, I listen to CCR live album, not John Fogerty Solo album. So yeah, a bit pointless to me, this one. And one thing that bothers me is the sound of the album. Live album should be like really like in your face, that you feel very close to the music. But this one gives a, like, it's coming from a bit of a distance, which is, yeah, I don't like that one. I place this at number 10. And then, late 20, early 21 came Fogerty's Factory. These are informal recordings played with his children, 2 sons and a daughter. Yeah, I think this is an enjoyable album. The cover versions, some of them work well. There's a great run of songs from Lean On Me, which is a Bill Withers cover, going through Hot Rod Hard, Blue Moon Nights, Tombstone Shadow, and City of New Orleans. Just brilliant, brilliant versions, all of them. But then there's songs like Fortunate Son and Have You Ever Seen the Rain, and Centerfield, which is, in my opinion, the worst one here. Yeah, those are not that great. But yeah, overall, I think it's an enjoyable album, but it's not something that calls for repeated plays very often. It's something that should be listened to every now and then, enjoyable as such. And I place this at number 8. Okay, so let's get back to those 3 albums that I didn't mention the placings, which were John Fogerty, Blue Moon Swamp, and Revival. Now, like I said, I like all of the songs here, but overall the quality of the songs is not as high as those on Blue Moon Swamp. But on the other hand, Blue Moon Swamp includes songs like Walking in a Hurricane, which I don't really like, and then Rattlesnake Highway and Rambunctious Boy, which I think they're okay, but not that great. And then there's John Fogerty, on which I like all of the songs here. But here the playing simply isn't that great. It's lacking the band feeling, so it's... I don't know how to say it, but it just doesn't grab me quite the same way. Like I said, I like all of the songs, and it's I don't want to make it sound in any way negative, but it just doesn't grab me quite the same way. So I place this one at number 1, even though that there are songs that don't really care for that much. But the rest of the songs that I do like, the songwriting quality it's such a high quality that makes this one being the best. Then John Fogerty, because I really just enjoy all of the songs, and at number 2, and then at number 3, Revival. Even though I like all of the songs here, and as far as the playing that it itself goes, this one actually comes back a bit more towards this sound, because this is just a basic band. There's the only one outsider is Ben Montench, who plays B3 and Wurlitzer, but even those are put down in a mix. So yeah, a bit more minimalistic sound here, but like I said, so like all of the songs, but I just think that this one is better overall in songwriting. So a little bit of a bonus material. Long Road Home. This was a part of a contract that John Fogerty made with the Concord company, who had bought the rights to Fantasy Records. And the deal was that if John would agree to a contract with the Concord, he would get his royalties from the CCR albums. And I have to say that I am a bit surprised that the Concord agreed to such a contract, because it seems that this is the only thing that came out. And this is compilation between CCR and John Fogerty solo tracks. So how do those songs work together? I think they work well. There's a clear character difference between CCR and his solo work, but they work well. The only difference that I would have made on this, Centerfield is third song here, coming after Bad Moon Rising, and you know the Centerfield song opens up with those hand claps, sampled hand claps. It just sounds out of place. I would have put Centerfield as the first song on this album, and the flow would have been much better. To my knowledge, the only place where you can get John Fogerty solo songs outside of his solo albums. And this one, I believe that it includes different mixes compared to Premonition, because, for example, Almost Saturday Night sounds much better here than on Premonition. And finally, live DVD coming down the road, live at the Royal Albert Hall. I saw him live during his tour and I thought it was just great. But here's the difference between being present at the concert and watching it from the video. At the concert I thought it was brilliant, great, but here watching it, these songs are just too fast. They are played too fast. Overall, I am very much in favor of songs being played faster live than on studio albums, but these are just too fast. Yeah, didn't really like that one. Okay, that's it for this time. Hope you like this. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Bye.